Hello and welcome to Who Wore It Better, where I review Raw and Smackdown back to back and try and figure out which show won for the week. Bit of a programming note for y'all. If you're like me and are abstaining from watching the Super Showdown event on Friday on the network, there is an alternative for you right here on this channel. Starting at 11 a.m. Pacific time that Friday, I'll be hosting a live stream where I do a live viewing of Pro Wrestling Eve's Wrestle Queendom 1 from last year. Pro Wrestling Eve is a women's wrestling league out of London, England, and Wrestle Queendom is kind of their equivalent to WrestleMania, you might say. And so with the next Wrestle Queendom on the horizon, I felt we could watch the first one, which is available in its entirety on YouTube. So not only will I be watching the show, you'll be able to watch it right along with me. So we can watch the show together. You can sound off in the comments section. I'll be interacting with viewers in the chat as well. It's going to be a real good time. But not only that, this is also a fundraiser live stream where all the proceeds from my super chat donations will go directly to Reign. So you'll be enjoying some great women's wrestling and also helping out a good cause as well. So once again, Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, you'll be seeing my live reactions to Wrestle Queendom 1, and you can join me right along with it, and let's have some fun Friday, why not? Raw opens up with the Wild Roman rule in effect. I'm going to credit JD from New York for that phrase there. Seriously though, Roman Reigns opening Raw for like the 4th or 5th week in a row since the wild card rule's been in place. You know, just say you want Roman on all your shows every week, and just be honest for a change, because right now it's becoming increasingly transparent what the wild card rules really, what's justifying this thing being there in the first place. Shane McMahon appears after Roman makes his entrance, cuts a promo on Roman saying he's going to make Roman tap for the first time in his career at Super Showdown. He's going to make his eyes bulge out of his head and he'll be declared best in the world, yada yada. Roman tells Shane to shut up and says that, you know, after he gets done beating Shane at Super Showdown, he's going to beat Drew McIntyre at Stomping Grounds 2 weeks from then. I think this is the first match that's officially been announced for Stomping Grounds as well. Also, God, like 2 weeks away, man, like just the time between pay-per-views just really flies at you. So Drew McIntyre's ears are burning. He makes his way out to interrupt and talk some trash to Roman. The Revival come out, jump Roman from behind, and then the Usos show up to even the odds. So we have our scheduled 6-man tag match coming up where it's Roman and the Usos versus Drew and the Revival. I'm not going to knock the booking on this one because instead of just like promo, let's have a match play it, it's like the match was already going to happen, and so we just kind of reached this conclusion anyway. It's a pretty good match. Near the end, Roman gets in Shane's face on the outside, and Drew hits Roman with a Claymore. One of the Usos gets taken out with a shatter machine on the outside. Drew picks the bones of the remaining Us with another Claymore, so the baddies win, and then after the fact, the baddies just keep beating up Roman. We get a shatter machine to him, another Claymore, Shane hits a spear and does the ooh-ah thing. You know, the match itself, like I said, was okay. I will say, I greatly appreciate, after last week when they waited almost an hour to have our first match of the night on Monday, we maybe waited 9 minutes or so for the first match to begin on this week. So that's like Smackdown time. They were just really raring to go this time. And I will say that the build for this match has actually been pretty effective because they've done a very good job making Shane an absolutely detestable, prickish heel. Like being surrounded by all these guys doing his dirty work for him. It's like, it's the year 1999 all over again. It's like Shane having people beat his opponents up for him. It's a Mean Street Posse all over again. I want somebody to Photoshop Drew McIntyre and Elias and the Revival all in matching sweater vests accompanying Shane McMahon to the ring. Up next, it's Miz TV with special guest Seth Rollins. The two provide some exposition about the Seth Baron Corbin match on Friday for the Universal title, as well as the impending danger of Boombox Brock. But Seth says he's not scared of Brock, but then who shows up but Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman? And, you know, they advertise that he's going to cash in tonight, so will they at this moment? No, it's a bit of a misdirection. And, you know, for the last like 3 weeks now, we've seen this thing where it's like Brock is going to cash in, but it's kind of a bait and switch. So will it actually happen tonight? Time will tell. We have a scheduled tag team match between the Lucha House Party and somebody, it doesn't matter. The point is Lars Sullivan interrupts once again and attacks the Luchadors, but this time the babyfaces stand tall and Lars is forced to retreat. This scene is very repetitive. We've seen this a lot over the last several weeks of Lars showing up, beating up the Lucha House Party. By the way, what keeps happening to these supposed opponents, the Lucha House Party, that they're going to have this scheduled tag team match for? That never materializes. But if you look at each segment from week to week, it actually kind of gets progressively better in terms of Lucha House Party, you know, because first couple times Lars kills him just unequivocally, and then the next time they fight, like The baby faces run away. They get a couple licks in on Lars. They're still a little beat up though. And then this week they actually like are relatively unfazed and kind of put a hurt on Lars Sullivan and get him to run. So you're getting this kind of natural progression and evolution in like the self-defense of the Lucha House Party. I wish the announcers actually brought that up on commentary, because it's kind of a nice little wrinkle in the story that, you know, it's, if you just look past the repetitiveness of this segment, this interruption beatdown thing, is actually kind of a nice little reference to it. I mean, the match on Friday is a foregone conclusion. There's no way that the Lucha House Party guys are winning that thing. But, you know, it's a nice build up to the match itself, I should say. Backstage, normal Nikki Cross is being berated by the Iconics when Alexa Bliss shows up to try and stand up for her. Peyton talks some trash. Peyton and Nikki have a match later on, so they leave. And Alexa and Nikki have a nice little bonding moment where Nikki's like, you're the only person who's like really been nice to me since I've been here on the main roster. So like, we're friends and everything. So more seeds being planted for whatever that is. The Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch shows up for a promo. She says that the last few months of good fortune, and she's been really content lately, but that contentment is also her enemy, because contentment makes you weak, or it makes you get hurt, or it makes you lose matches. So she says that, you know, she's really mad at Lacey Evans and she's going to give her what for. And then Lacey Evans interrupts and says that when she's done with Becky, she'll be Becky no belts. Sick burn. Charlotte shows up next and then gloats about how she beat Becky to become the 9-time SmackDown Women's Champion. And Becky goes, well, where's your belt now? And Charlotte essentially just goes like, whatever. The important thing is I'm more than halfway to beating my dad's record for championships. And that right there, that's really the story, isn't it? I think that really pissed me off, the fact that Charlotte was so flippant about the fact that she lost the championship right after she won it. It should make her upset in character. She had it and then boom, it's gone. You know, it's like but she's not really focused on that. Like, she's not focused on Bayley at all. And we'll see how that builds up to SmackDown the next night. But it makes me mad, because the wrestlers in this kayfabe world should care about every title win and every title loss. It still should stick in her crow a little bit, but the fact that she just kind of brushed it off like it was nothing, that really irked me. Lacey then tells Charlotte to go back to SmackDown, then hits her with a push. I mean, the angle, the way that it was shot and everything, they said it was a right hand, but it just looked like she kind of just fell into her, basically. So we get this awkward moment after the punch, push, whatever, and then it's match time. Okie doke, this match really fucking sucked. Like, this was not a good match. It's heel versus heel, and that, to begin with, is a recipe for disaster. But these two had no chemistry. It was slow, it was sloppy, it was ugly. I watch Raw on 1.5 speed on YouTube TV every Monday night, and even then it was still a slow match for me. This was an awful match, really. Luckily, Becky Lynch finally comes in to save us from this segment by basically dumping Charlotte out of the ring, hitting Lacey with a manhandle slam, which the more I look at it here, it's like, it's not just a rock bottom. She does the pump handle hand thing, but it feels a bit more contrived because the opponent is doing it in a standing position. So the hand's just kind of hanging down above the groin area, just kind of like in this really unnatural way to feed to Becky to grab from behind. Whereas in the traditional pump handle, the opponent's bent over, the hand's there, there's more wrist to grab, essentially. This one, where it's in the standing position, feels a bit more contrived. I wish Becky just did a regular rock bottom and just be done with it. I would be more open to that than whatever this weird thing she's doing now, trying to get over. Like, I think it's good to give Becky kind of a quick finisher she can do to a lot of different people, like from a standing thing. The disarm her is a little more versatile than the disarm her, I should say. But I don't know about this particular move. The US champ, Rey Mysterio, comes out to relinquish his title. He won it back at Money in the Bank in kind of a weird fluky win where the shoulder was still up, and then he hurt his shoulder in the process, and so he's here to relinquish the belt. One thing I noticed, it could be for the first time, I don't know if this has been going on in the entirety that he's been cutting promos in the company or what, but I just really noticed it for the first time on Monday. When he's cut his promo, the camera guy in the ring is either crouching down or holding the camera below his shoulder, so you get this look of like it's kind of parallel to Rey, but also kind of tilting up a little bit, like he's taller than he really is. That was a real trip, because I feel like they were trying to replicate when an average heighted person in wrestling is there, and they have the camera right in their shoulders, so you got that eye level thing. And then they had to bring it down. It was a really bizarre angle. I'm like, have they always done this with Rey? I don't know. But in the middle of his promo, Samoa Joe comes out, interrupts him, says the reason you're relinquishing the belt is because you didn't win it right. I'm the rightful champion, whatever. And so yeah, Rey relinquishes the belt. He lays it down for Joe to pick up. So he's giving it right back to Samoa Joe. And as Rey leaves, Joe puts him in the coquina clutch. Oh, what a heel. And that's pretty much where it ends. I said last week that the belt should go right back to Joe, since since it was the title changed hands under such controversial circumstances. So I'm glad they did that. At the same time, though, I do understand that, you know, it might have been cool to have the belt be open-ended and have it like fought for by multiple people who could use a shot. At least fight for it. I still give it back to Joe at the end, but like have him fight somebody for it who needs that kind of rub. But, you know, I think it's one of those things you could do either or. Braun Strowman versus Bobby Lashley in that classic staple of wrestling, arm wrestling contests. And it's the same old shtick we've seen before with arm wrestling where the heel always stalls, like the hand slips, or getting in Braun's head, like slaps him in the face at some point. And so they do the arm wrestling contest, and Braun wins, and then Lashley beats him up after he throws the powder, the chalk in Braun's face, beats him up, hits him with a running power slam for the exclamation point, and walks off. So they have their match on Friday at Super Showdown. You know, like I say, there's only so many ways you can really book an arm wrestling segment in wrestling, and this is one of them. Backstage, Drake Maverick and EC3, still rocking his solo cut from last week's block party segments, are sneaking behind Carmella, knowing that she will lead them to R-Truth, the 24/7 champion. But before we return to that storyline, we go to Nikki Cross versus Peyton Royce in singles action. Alexa Bliss is at ringside for Nikki here in her white pants. It's important to note that for later. Nikki's mouth is busted open at one point in the match. A really cool like head and arm submission in the ropes by Peyton that I had not seen before. I really like that move. In the middle of the match, a gopher arrives with Alexa's coffee. Seems like a good a time as any. And so as she's drinking the coffee, like Peyton like kicks the mug on the floor. Then Billie Kay pushes Alexa into the coffee, and so she's, oh, Alexa sitting in the coffee in her white pants. And so in the distraction and the chaos, Nikki hits Peyton with a neckbreaker to win the match. And so then Alexa snaps because her pants are all soiled now with coffee on them, and she beats up the Iconics to a babyface pop. So in the last few months, we've seen Alexa Bliss being walked in on while she's changing her clothes. We've seen her wrestle a match where her shoes kept falling off, and this week we see her sitting in coffee and white pants in this kind of like humiliating fashion thing. What the hell kind of kinks are Vince or the writers working through right now? And what kind of demons are they exercising right now in booking Alexa Bliss to do this stuff? I don't mean to pick on her, but historically, Alexa Bliss's booking has always been kind of shit. And this is just really weird stuff. I guess you might say, it's such good shit. Seth Rollins comes back out to the ring. He doesn't get to say much before Brock Lesnar's music hits, but he's a no-show. Seth calls Brock out again. This time, Baron Corbin shows up, his opponent for Friday night. He calls himself the Dream Crusher, and he's going to retire Seth like he did Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. They has fight. Seth stands tall, but then Brock's music hits again. Corbin hits the end of days in the distraction, walks off. Brock Lesnar comes out for real this time, and then just spends the next several minutes beating the absolute hell out of Seth with chair shots, suplexes, and a 5 on the floor. Oh, and also Dick Kick City. Don't forget that. So he just really just works over Seth in a big way here. And the whole time Heyman's like, now, Brock, now cash in. And Brock's having none of it, saying, no, not yet. And Heyman's just bewildered. What's going on? So finally, he's yelling at Brock, what are you doing? Cash in. And Brock says, Friday, Friday, Friday. Got to get down on Friday. So he's making his intentions very clear that he's going to cash in Saudi Arabia, and then, you know, beats him up more for good measure. Trainers, referees, EMTs down, sad fans. Seth is stretchered off, and Becky Lynch gets into the ambulance with him backstage. You know, the bait and switches of the cash-ins have really sucked. It's like, you know, that's what they are. It's very disingenuous to plug the cash-ins and then not do them. That being said, the briefcase has made Brock Lesnar far more relevant in the last few weeks than the year plus whatever the hell with the red belt ever did in terms of making him relevant and interesting to follow. The briefcase has actually made him like more of a captivating figure, and it's really helped this build, especially the fact he's been actually showing up for several weeks in a row. You know, God help them once the cash-in happens. You know, who knows whether he wins the belt or not. Who knows what creative's going to look like for the Universal title picture once that chapter's done. But for at least now, this build has actually been okay. It's time now for Firefly Funhouse, and you know what? It only took 4.5 years, but I called this shit.
I'm here to get fit, y'all. Come on, y'all. Let's get fit. Mountain climbers, y'all. Mountain climbers. Keep those knees up. Focus on the core. Focus on the core.
So yeah, the big theme for this week's episode is exercise. We actually meet Huskus the Pig Boy, which is a big reference to Husky Harris, which is Bray's first gimmick in NXT. And so, yeah, Bray tells Huskus, you know, one day you're going to be great. People are going to call you a genius. You'll have the whole world in your hands. Wink. And then, to top the Huskus, the Husky Harris reference, who shows up but Devil Vince McMahon puppet. Devil Vince McMahon puppet. How in the blue hell did Vince McMahon sign off on this segment where he's depicted as the devil with everything going on right now, all the bad publicity with the Jon Moxley interviews and whatnot. And he's coming out here, he's being presented as a devil puppet. The only way that must have gotten written off or signed off on is if they convinced Vince it was not about him. So even though they did a big obvious Vince reference where he's like saying, if you don't shape up soon, you're fired. But Bray cuts him off, and then we have the Muscle Man dance, this big song thing where Bray's on a green screen dancing like a goof. The puppets are dancing, Devil Vince puppets dancing, holy shit. We actually get one little kind of dark subliminal thing peppered in there as well. And that's where it pretty much ends. Oh my God, that was spectacular. One of the best ones yet, and like the highlight of the night for me. Again, I called that shit. We had Triple H, Randy Orton face-to-face in preparation for their match on Friday. They don't mince words for very long. I like how Triple H goes, we all know how these kind of things usually end up. Triple H says, don't let the suit fool you. I can still beat you up. Orton says, I'm not Batista. Triple H does a good job in his promo putting Orton over as one of the best in the business, one of the best in company history. But he says, everyone who's tried to take him down in the past, they're all gone now. And then Orton says, before Triple H walks off, he's like, oh, Hunter, promise me you'll retrieve your balls from Stephanie's purse. And then Triple H starts to laugh. He goes, oh yeah, because they're so big, they're such a burden to carry around with me, but you wouldn't know about that because you've never had any. And like Orton's corpsing a bit, and then Triple H says, see you on Friday, drops the mic and leaves. And it was a really kind of fun way to end it. Like it made the segment a lot more entertaining, I think, was just kind of that, oh snap kind of thing. But it was, overall a very succinct and entertaining segment that put the thing over. And, even though we haven't really seen much of Orton lately on television, or we haven't heard him speak that much, it's still, I think this is a good segment to me. Backstage, when the hell did Baron Corbin start wearing a gold chain? Up next, Cesaro versus Ricochet, yet again, third week in a row. More exciting flips and dips. Ricochet wins with a surprise roll-up, so now he's kind of won the rubber match. And again, this thing can go on forever. He even says in his pre-match selfie promo that this is a rivalry that could go for a decade. I'm like, yes, absolutely. I would love a decade-long Ricochet-Cesaro match. Just maybe don't burn out on it in the first month, shall we? So Cesaro beats down Ricochet after the match is over, just gets heat back. He's looking for weapons under the ring. He pulls out a table, and R-Truth is laying on the table hiding, and he has this big Bugs Bunny smile at Cesaro as he's just kind of looking like, what is going on? And it was so unexpected, and I laughed my ass off with that reveal of R-Truth on the table. I thought that was the funniest shit I'd seen all night. Then the gaggle of lower card guys come running after him. Truth evades them, and then he bumps into Drake Maverick, who's got the flyers in his hand, and Carmella super kicks Drake. The flyers go flying. I thought Drake was just going to hit R-Truth with the flyers and Truth would sell it. That would be even better. But no, Carmella kicks Drake in the face, flyers go flying, Truth and Carmella run off. So yeah, that whole segment where the match itself with Ricochet and Cesaro, fine stuff, but I don't want fans to get burned out on it. And yeah, the stuff with the 24/7 thing, that caught me by surprise. It was funny as hell. The show ends with a promo by The Undertaker, who addresses his opponent for Friday night, Bill Goldberg. He says he doesn't want the family man Goldberg. He wants the unstoppable mythical icon Goldberg. And he says if he brings anything less than their first match together will be Goldberg's last. As he's cutting his promo, it actually gets cut off on air because it goes over 11 o'clock at night. So the rest of his promos on YouTube, he says, you're next, rest in peace, da-da-da. And that's pretty much it. It's actually a really, it's a good Taker promo, which doesn't happen all that often lately. Over on Smackdown, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods start the show. Kofi says he's proud to be an inspirational champion. They show a highlight package of his recent trip to his home country of Ghana, first time he was there in 26 years. And so then afterwards, Dolph Ziggler comes out, interrupts Kofi, saying it's all about him, it should have been him, this and that. He gets his own highlight package that shows all of his accomplishments over the years. Kofi does a good job bringing up their history together and even says, hey, when you won the US and the IC titles for the first time, you beat me for them. And they do have very similar, parallel career paths. But then Kofi goes, but you forgot to talk about this. And they just happen to have this clip queued up in their VTR of Dolph relinquishing the US title in late 2017 after he just won it at the pay-per-view. And so he says, oh, but it's not going to be about you. It's Super Showdown. It's going to be about me. And Dolph just quietly points to the screen, and he just so happens to have another highlight clip showing up. Like, where do they have these clips? When did they both independently of each other, go to the production truck and say, hey, I got these clips I want you to show. If he says this, I want you to show this one. And you'll know my cue when I point to the screen. It's just a highlight package of a couple weeks ago when Dolph beats up Kofi. And that was pretty much it. Like, how do these guys have all these video rebuttals on standby? Then we get a promo for Super Showdown, which they are now referring to as, I quote, a WrestleMania equivalent pay-per-view. Boy, you are turning on the charm with this one, aren't you guys? Then we go to our first match tonight as Kofi and Xavier take on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. It's a good opening match. Kofi hits Trouble in Paradise on Sami to win the match for his team. Then right afterward, Dolph super kicks him and lays him out. So that was pretty much how the show opens. Just weird video cues and a pretty good opening match. Backstage, Shane McMahon cuts a promo saying he's going to call out Roman Reigns, saying that anything he can do, I can do better. Then we go to a special SmackDown edition of Moment of Bliss with her special guest, Bayley, the SmackDown Women's Champion. And Alexa just heels on Bayley the entire time, despite the fact just one night before on Raw, she was a babyface. The booking and what she did pretty much made that clear she's a face. So, hey, have they filled that continuity position yet in the writing team? So anyway, Bayley finally stands up for herself. She slaps the coffee out of Alexa's hand, and Alexa says, I'm going to challenge you for the belt. Carmella interrupts and says, no, she should fight Bayley for the belt. Then Charlotte comes out and says that no, it's going to be a triple threat match coming up later to determine the new number one contender, and it's going to be the three blonde ladies, Carmella, Alexa Bliss, and Charlotte Flair. So yeah, that segment was a bit tough to sit through. It just more so because of the fact that we just saw her be a babyface, and they couldn't even commit to that for more than 24 hours before they completely say, nope, she's a heel again. Backstage, R-Truth's on the phone with Shane McMahon, and they're using Carmella's phone to do it, and Shane tells Truth he's got a 24/7 championship match right then and there against his opponent in the ring. It's a lumberjack match against Elias, and they do say in the ring announcing that the lumberjacks are not allowed to pin anyone. They're not allowed to pin the champion until after the match is over. The match maybe goes 30 seconds long. Truth is thrown out of the ring, gets beat up by the heel lumberjacks. He takes one knee to the face from Elias. Pinfall and Elias wins. Okay. Apparently the 24/7 belt makes you incredibly weak from just running around all the time, avoiding challengers. So anyway, Elias wins. All the lumberjacks get up and descend on him, which is a pretty funny visual. But Elias evades them, but he runs into R-Truth on the outside. They go under the ring, and the referee joins them. And then about 30 seconds later, you just hear the bell ring again, and R-Truth is suddenly the champion again. So that was a pretty wacky segment they had there. It was like also to put over the battle royal they're having in Saudi Arabia as well with all the lumberjacks and just more 24/7 wackiness. And I will say, between what they did on Monday and Tuesday night, as well as the stuff they did on social media over the weekend with R-Truth and Jinder Mahal in the golf course where Jinder was in full gear, I think it's great stuff. Like, I really should, next time reserve judgment, and let things lie, because I think I was a bit critical about the 24/7 stuff last week, and a little prematurely, because then this week they did a lot of the stuff that I kind of wanted them to do. So I want to see more of that stuff on social media, though. I think that's a really untapped market. There's a lot of potential there. I think the fact that so many people talked about that golf course thing, I think that should hopefully send them a message to do more of those things. Another promo by Aleister Black. He asks if it's cowardice or intelligence that no one has answered his open challenge. As he continues to talk, I don't know if the light is just subtly changing around him or the way he's moving around, because as he leans in more, there's this red light on his side that's getting more of his head. So it's like his head is getting progressively more red as the thing goes on. And it's like, and his promo, the verbiage in the promo was very teetering on the healer's side as well. And so already seeing kind of like a little character change in Aleister Black, a little small tweak to his gimmick. I kind of like where they're going with this. Shane McMahon comes out to call out Roman Reigns. He's flanked by the Revival. He says that he will neuter the big dog at Super Showdown. Roman Reigns appears. He takes out the Revival single-handedly, because of course he does. As he makes his way to the ring, he is taken out by a surprise Claymore from out of nowhere by Drew McIntyre. But at this point, the wild card rules, the limit of the four-person thing, fuck it. No one cares about the four-person limit anymore. At least not in that company, because it's way more people than four on SmackDown. So everyone gets a shot at on Roman Reigns. Shane with another spear, a really bad-looking spear on Roman this time. The Uwas, very similar to what we saw on Raw the night before, just without a match beforehand. We then go to the women's triple threat match, Charlotte, Carmella, and Alexa Bliss, to see who will fight Bayley at Stomping Grounds for the SmackDown Women's title. Carmella's looking strong when Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville suddenly show up on the ramp. Charlotte puts Carmella in a figure 8, and Alexa hits the Twisted Bliss onto Charlotte. Charlotte from the top rope in mid-hold, which is a pretty cool spot. Sonya and Mandy distract Carmella, and then Alexa hits the DDT to win the match. This was a good match, but my only real gripe with it is just the way they've been booking Alexa in the last 48 hours. She was a face on Raw. She was a heel on SmackDown. Are they going to flip-flop from show to show? Like, where's Nikki Cross going to factor into all this? It's really confusing. Again, the fact that they just can't keep their objectives straight. I don't know if it's the wild card rules fault, because they're trying to balance like Alexa Bliss on Raw, and they're trying to maybe put her back on SmackDown. I don't think she's going to lose that match to Bayley at Stomping Grounds. I don't think she's going to, because the history between those two has been pretty one-sided. I don't think it's going to change the pay-per-view, sadly. So it's so confusing what they're doing with her right now. Hey, you want to hear a ship promo? Well, here comes one courtesy of Lars Sullivan. He's in the ring with Kayla Braxton, who asks him, "Hey, Lars, why are you doing all these nasty things in the ring?" And Lars goes, "Would you ask a nightingale why it sings its song? Would you ask a lion why it stalks its prey before it rips its flesh apart?" Why would you open with the nightingale line? Why would you not open with the lion part? And then he tells Kayla to say the word that he knows she's thinking. And she goes, "You're a freak." And he's like, "Oh, that word." And so then he wraps up with a nursery rhyme about 3 blind mice and how he's going to take the Lucha House Party and rip their tails off and paint a beautiful portrait with their bodily fluids. Jesus Christ, I need to walk this one off. This is terrible. My God, this promo is one of the worst damn things I've ever heard in my life. Whoever wrote this should be sacked. There you go. Lars Sullivan, everybody. We're supposed to have a match between Andrade and Apollo Crews, but before the bell rings, Andrade beats down Apollo, hits him with the hammerlock DDT. Nice seeing you, Apollo. Finn Balor shows up, and they has fight, but Zelina Vega distracts Finn, so Andrade gets one over on Finn here. This is a nice feud, I guess you could call it, for the IC title. Way to build up the fact that we're going to be seeing the Demon on Friday. There you go. Andrade and Finn, everyone. It's Goldberg time, y'all. For the first time ever on SmackDown, Goldberg shows up to address the Undertaker's promo from the night before. I love the fact they insist on using this promo pic of Goldberg in the match card, where he's got like the very badly photoshopped brown goatee, and he's right fucking there in the ring with his big white beard. It's like, come on, guys, who are you really fooling? Goldberg actually cuts a really good promo here. It's been said before online, I'm just going to echo the sentiment here. You know, for a guy who couldn't talk to save his life in WCW, some of like his best promos came from like his run from a couple years ago when he was the Universal Champion, and this promo right here, like he gets to be himself. Like he just kind of like, he feels kind of like relaxed, you know, and he just sounds like, he sounds kind of cool and badass in these promos. So yay, good for him, good promo. The lights go out and they come back up. Undertaker shows up in the ring. They have a stare down and the lights go out again. Taker is gone, and so Goldberg gets like a parting shot in verbally, and that's pretty much it. And I think they run light on this show. Either that or they just kind of like knew they wanted to end on one last big final push for Super Showdown, because you have like 3 minutes to kill and they go for like, here's the matches again and here's some highlights from what you saw on just now on SmackDown. The end. What a weird way to end the show. Time now for me to decide which show won for the week, Raw or SmackDown. This week I have to give it to Raw once again. I think the show was kind of hard to get into until the last like half of it, but there was a lot more stuff with Raw that I enjoyed and just worked for me than what I saw on SmackDown this week. Like I said, I really enjoyed the build for Lesnar and Rollins. It just makes a difference when Lesnar's there every week, you know, even though we're not going to get that forever. It's not meant to last. But I mean, God, like I said, the briefcase has made him a lot more relevant than he was when he was champion, in my opinion. Firefly Funhouse was a fantastic version this week. I really loved it for a lot of reasons. Triple H and Orton was a welcome surprise. I didn't really expect to be entertained by it, but I was. Cesaro and Ricochet was a good match, bleeding into the 24/7 shenanigans with R-Truth. I thought that was really well done. And the Taker promo, ending the show on a strong note as well. With SmackDown, I enjoyed the opening tag team match. Hated the bit before it with Kofi and Dolph, where they have their just like their collection of clips they want to show, they just happen to have in the can. The women's triple threat match was also good as well. And the Goldberg promo, you know, the counter to the Taker thing, I thought was a very strong way to end the show then too. But man, it's weird when, you know, the wild card rule, one thing it gives us is if you're on both shows, you have the potential to be a con in both shows. And Alexa Bliss was a con in both shows for me. Not just the wacky coffee bullshit on Raw, but also the inexplicable heel turn the next night on SmackDown making no sense. Lars Sullivan's promo, my God, one of the worst worst things I have ever heard. That's not even an awesomely bad promo, just a bad promo. And then the Finn and Andrade segment, you might as well not have that match happening at all, the way they built it up. Let me know what you thought about Raw and SmackDown this week in the comments section below, and vote which show you thought was better in the iCard in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Quick little note, I may or may not be able to do Who Wore It Better next week because I will be out of town. I'll be going to a couple different towns that week, so I don't know if I'll be able to watch Raw and SmackDown over next week, but if I do, and I do Who Wore It Better, I guess you'll find out soon enough, won't you? I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.